Good afternoon, everybody. Pigskin Pete here. Happy Tuesday to everybody. I really apologize for anybody who just got on that first stream. I have no idea what was going on. I was getting a poor signal. It didn't even show that I was online. By the time I realized I was online, it was too late. So I had to start it over. I don't know. A weak Wi-Fi signal, I think, is what was going on. But anyways, I'm happy to be here with you guys today. There's a couple things that I want to discuss, and we'll see who all's in the chat first, and I'll say what's up to everybody. Billy Dawson, good afternoon, sir. College Football Maniac, good afternoon. JC, my man, Jet Central, how you doing? Miranda Dansby, happy Tuesday to you, ma'am. Let's see here if I can get... Smallval says hello. Hello, Smallval. So we'll get right into it here. I tried to play a Clemson music song on the intro. That went horribly wrong. My internet went horribly wrong. Everything that could go horribly wrong went horribly wrong. But here we are, and we are here now. So that's all that really matters. First thing I want to discuss, Spencer may be calling into the show. Yeah, I called him about 20 minutes ago on my way home, and he said he would give me a call back. I don't know if he's going to be able to make it or not. But anyways, Spencer, if you're watching, you can call in anytime. I happened to watch his video on Odell Beckham Jr. Today, Odell Beckham Jr. is supposed to either be signed or not signed. It's the way I understand it. And I saw that he made a video yesterday addressing, what's up, T-Mac Rock 1? Spencer's a lifelong Giants fan, does not want Odell to get re-signed. And I would like to talk to him first about that, and second of all, about the reaction that he got off that video. And I will leave the suspense as far as that goes to see if he calls in, because I don't want to spoil it. The second thing I wanted to talk about was two other things. You can see him in the description there. The Greg McElroy comments, which I actually addressed the other day in short. The comments that he made about basically the SEC versus every other conference. For some reason, he was attacking the ACC schools like Clemson and Florida State. I don't know why. I don't know what his motivation behind this is. But he's making himself look more and more like a fool every day. So he made the comments the other day, and then today I was listening live to the Golick and Wingo show on ESPN. I'm a radio nerd. I listen to more sports radio than I do watch sports on TV. Or, sports, whatever, sports shows on TV. I love the radio, and I spend a lot of time in my car. So that's the main reason for that. But he made some comments today. I don't know what Greg McElroy's problem with Clemson in particular is. I know he's an SEC homer. I know he's a former Alabama quarterback, but he's been hired by ESPN and the SEC network, I guess, which is still ESPN, to try to be somewhat objective. He's got a real hard on for Clemson, and I'm not sure exactly what that's all about. And I would like to see if anybody can shed some light on this. I know I have, for instance, I know Billy Dawson is a big Bama fan. Obviously, there's several other Bama fans on my channel. I just need. So what I'm going to do right now. Billy Dawson says it's weird because he tries so hard to separate himself from Alabama. And he makes fun of Alabama fans. Maybe, you know what, Greg McElroy just might be a jerk-off. That might really be what it all comes down to. What I'm going to do, I didn't do this the other day. I'll tell you about the comments that he made today. But first I want to set the premise. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you word for word, if I can find it, what he said originally, which is a ridiculous thing to say. And the ACC has been showing up more than the SEC here lately. Can disagree there. Anyway, listen. So this is what Greg McElroy said. This was on July 30th or 31st. So just a week ago or so. He says, "I think it just depends on the player, and that's the beauty of college football. It's what you're into. If you want to go to a place that is going to have putt-putt and great music at practice, and you want to have fun in the week leading up to the game, then you go to places like Florida State or Clemson. If you want to go to a place that's all about winning, all about the X's and O's, all about trying to define what values the organization are. There are places like that for you too, like Alabama, Texas A&M, and Georgia. I think there's something for everybody. Now, I don't even know where to begin with what my problem with this statement is. First of all, it's completely inaccurate and crazy and stupid for Greg McElroy to make a statement like this. First of all, he picked out Florida State and Clemson. Somebody should remind Greg McElroy that Florida State and Clemson both have national titles this decade. Georgia and Texas A&M don't. Period. Not only that, to say that if you want to go to a place that's all about winning and all about X's and O's, all about trying to define what the values of the organization are, that's a knock. I mean, listen, if you want to say that Florida State didn't have any values, I'm not going to argue with you on that. I'm not a Florida State fan. But to say that to lump Clemson in with that, and then to compare Florida State or Clemson to Texas A&M is completely asinine. When has Texas A&M ever won anything? Ever? When has Georgia won? And Georgia is an upcoming team, but comparing them to Florida State and Clemson, Florida State has multiple national championships this century. Georgia has none, 0. It's a complete slap in the face, and I don't know what he's getting at there. I just don't understand it. So then today, when he called into the Golick and Wingo show, SEC Dog, of course it sounds good to you, sir. But the fact of the matter is, there is no team in this country in the past 8 years that's won more games than Clemson, period, other than Alabama. Not Georgia, not Florida State, not Oklahoma, not Ohio State. Nobody. So you can think what you want. Your hate for the ACC, sir, is blinding reality for you. And that's something that maybe you need to go see a shrink about, because facts are facts. Let's see. McElroy also said McCarron was the worst quarterback Alabama. So what he said today when he called in to the Golick and Wingo show, they were, of course, asking him about this whole thing with Jalen Hurts, the comments with Jalen Hurts, and the Tua thing. And again, now this has nothing to do with Clemson at all. This is an Alabama thing, okay? And he brings Clemson into it again. He says, well, Alabama is NFL light. And, if coaches like Dabo Sweeney may care what the players think, but Nick Saban doesn't. He's more like an NFL coach. Well, there's two things here. There's nobody in the past 8 years, other than Alabama, that's put more players into the NFL than Clemson, certainly the last 5 years. There's nobody that's won as many games as Alabama other than Clemson in the past 8 years. And not to mention, what does Clemson have to do with this? I don't understand what his gripe with Greg McElroy clearly and utterly has a problem with Clemson. That I don't know what it is. I would love to find out the root of this, the root of his hate for Clemson. But he's clearly not an objective observer and should be ashamed to call himself a college football analyst when he says asinine things like that. And to pretend like that Dabo Sweeney somehow runs his organization like a high school team, and Nick Saban is the all power, the all seeing eye that looks over all of college football, and nobody can even attempt to coach the way he coaches. I think that Clemson program and coaching models Alabama closer than anybody else's program in the country does. Period. What's up, Brian Knight? Bobby Durkin's here. Since 2011, yeah, Clemson hasn't had less than 10 wins. That's right. And not only that, I mean, I'm just repeating myself. Brett Lake says Texas A&M hasn't done anything except beat Bama 1 year, so congrats on the same playing field as you suck. I mean, listen, if anybody who wants to sit here and compare, say that Alabama is a better program than Clemson, then nobody's arguing that. Alabama's the best program in the country for the past, since the turn of the century. There's not a debate about that. But when you bring Georgia and Texas A&M into it and start comparing them to Florida State and Clemson, you look like a fool. Anyway, like I said, I don't know what his problem is. I just don't get it. I don't get it one bit. And for some reason, I'm missing calls. I think maybe Spencer might have tried to call, actually. Crap. He did. I'm not gonna call him back. I think he's busy. So the other topic I want to discuss, and then I'll just I'll take questions, comments, criticism, hate, love, whatever it is you want to give me. Yeah, T-Mac Rock says that Greg is just an SEC homer along with Feinbaum and those guys. I mean, I get it. I get that he's a homer, but I thought that McElroy had a little bit more sense than that. But clearly, I was wrong. I'm not a very good judge of character. He said some things that are even more asinine than something that Paul Feinbaum would say. Bobby Durkin says he could have extra chromosomes. Maybe he's just butthurt that he was. He got drafted in the NFL, right? He never started for anybody. Greg McElroy would be the third or fourth string quarterback for Clemson right now. Maybe that's what he's so upset about. McElroy's a jerk, and he talks out of his ass. He said on Twitter to a fan, who have you beaten lately to be proud of not Ohio State? Yeah, he's on the Fire Urban bandwagon too, which I'm really objective about, to be honest. There's too much like misinformation about that whole thing. I don't even know what to think about that. I really don't. I just don't. I'm not going to even get into that until something else comes out that's more clear about what he did wrong. Did he break rules, or was he just bad judgment? Anyway, I don't want to even get into the Ohio State. The one thing I do want to talk about, though, is another thing I heard on the radio today, is the conversation about which conference could potentially get left out of the playoff, because clearly there's 5 major conferences and there's only 4 playoff spots. Of course, last year we saw 2 from the SEC get in there. Very possible that could happen again, and I will talk about a scenario where the SEC could get 2 in. I mean, it's a very unlikely scenario, but it is a scenario nonetheless, and we'll go ahead and get into that, and then I'll get into my thoughts about whether or not it'll be the Big 12 or the Pac-12 that's left out this year and why. And I think you'll be surprised to hear my answer on that. Maybe not. I don't know. But as far as the SEC possibly getting 2 in, the only scenario I can see where that would happen would be if Auburn goes out, beats Washington week 1, goes undefeated throughout the regular season, and loses the Iron Bowl to Alabama, and loses the West. This is, of course, assuming that Alabama goes 11-1 or 12-0 as long as they beat Auburn. Then Alabama goes on to win the SEC championship game against whoever, most likely Georgia out of the East. So then you would have a Alabama team who was 11-1 or 12-0, who won the SEC championship game, and an 11-1 Auburn, whose only loss is to Alabama. So that could potentially put Auburn and Alabama both into the playoff. Now, it's a very unlikely scenario that everything I just said is going to happen just the way I said it. I get that. But that is one scenario. So as far as that goes, I don't think it's going to happen, but that is something that possibly could happen, because Washington is going to be a top 10 team coming into the year, and that'll be a signature win. And, of course, they would have had to beat Georgia. You're talking about multiple top 10 wins, and their only loss being to Alabama. Anyway, now my thoughts on if there's going to be a team left out of the playoff, a conference rather, not a team, who would it be and why? What would be the reasons for it? I know Big 12 fans are not going to like to hear this. I tend to believe that it would be the Big 12, even though the Pac-12 is a weaker conference. And that actually has something to do with the reason I think that the Pac-12 would get in over the Big 12. So here's how my stupid mind works. I feel as if Washington has a pretty easy route to the playoff. Even if they lose to Auburn week 1, a 1 or 2 loss Pac-12 champion Washington, I think, would be strongly considered for the playoff. Now, particularly if they did beat Auburn, that would even give them a bigger leg up. They have a much easier schedule than anybody in the Big 12 does because it's a weaker conference than the Big 12 is. The Big 12, in my opinion, has the hardest format to play in the regular season. I didn't say schedule. I don't think that they have the hardest schedule of any other conference. I think they have the hardest format. They play a round robin. Every team plays every team because there's only 10 teams, so everybody plays everybody. And then there's a rematch in the Big 12 championship game from the 2 best teams in the Big 12. So you get this from the SEC some years. In the Big 10, they say, oh, they beat up on each other. Well, the Big 12 literally does beat up on each other because they all play each other every single year. And that makes it a little bit harder for them to get in. Now, I don't feel sorry for them because there is one way that you could fix this problem if you're the Big 12. They did make the right move by getting a conference championship game for the first time last year. That did help a little bit, and you saw the fruits of that by Oklahoma getting in, even though Oklahoma probably would have got in anyway because they were one of the best teams in the country. But assuming that the Oklahoma this year is not the Oklahoma of last year, or even if it's a different team, TCU, for example, or Texas, or West Virginia, or whoever. The way to fix this problem is to get 12 teams in the Big 12. Isn't that a novel idea? I know you lost 2 teams, but you need to replace them. And there's plenty of teams out there that would be willing to do that. I mean, there's probably a couple of teams in the state of Texas that would be willing to join, so it wouldn't be a stretch. Houston would be one of them, possibly even SMU. I mean, there's probably a dozen other teams that would easily fit into that mold. Check my signal. Am I losing my signal again? I don't understand. Right now it says it's good, Billy Dawson. I appreciate it. Why was I cutting out? Or was SEC Dog says it sounds good to him. So I don't know. I've been getting a strong signal. I keep my eye on it because of the way things have been going lately. I've seemed to have been getting a strong signal. I don't know what the problem was. So, anyways, now that I lost my train of thought there, but basically what I was saying was, I did for you early, but it's good now. I was rebooting for a second, cutting out on my end just a second. Okay, good. I'm glad it wasn't any major thing. Whenever it does that on the live feed, it just sort of glitches on the replay. It'll cut like 2 or 3 seconds out of what you're saying, just skips. But yeah, I don't know. It's sunny outside. I don't know why my signal isn't as strong as it normally is. But anyway. All right, so now that I've got through my rants for the day, or as I like to call them, my therapy sessions, where I get on here and rant and rave. I love ranting and raving to you guys. You guys are you're such great listeners. Anyway, so now that that's over with, I'll be happy to answer any questions. I don't know if Blake Ellis is on here. He did ask me to watch a different YouTuber channel, college Clemson hype video for 2018, and I just want to let him know if he's seeing this. He's asked me like 3 times. I did watch it, sir, and it was excellent. You're right. So just so he knows that. Let's see if I can go back in the comments here. Another thing before I forget, because I'm a very forgetful person. What's today? Tonight I will be taping. Anybody who's not subscribed to the Sports Fury, go ahead and do so, please. First of all, if you like football, NFL, or whatever, or even basketball and baseball, you'll love them. But I am taping a Carolina Panthers segment with them tonight, late tonight. So I'm sure they'll be posting it with here in the next few days. And I would really like for you to go check me out on there. What's your opinion on Alex Cahoe's situation? Ale Cahoe situation. Who is that? Huh? Unless I'm having a brain fart here. What's the Ale Cajo situation? You have to understand, Billy Dawson, you're dealing with somebody here who has the mental capacity of an infant. So, yeah. And I think I might have missed another phone call from Spencer. Washington's inside linebacker who left for a family situation. You mean he's transferring? Is that what you're saying? Is that a similar thing to the Josh Belt kid from Clemson that did that, and instead he's going to South Carolina now? There seems to be a lot of that going around. And if he has a family situation, what can you blame the kid? First of all, I think he should be able to leave if he wants to, anyways. But it's just these are kids, and sometimes they get somewhere and realize this isn't where they want to be, and they want to change their mind. And everybody, in my opinion, is entitled to change their mind. They're also entitled to be scrutinized for it by certain people. So everything comes full circle. Jonathan Hammond says, how do I think the Titans will do this year? Well, unfortunately, Jonathan Hammond, I don't know if you're a Titans fan, but I think that Houston and Jacksonville are both going to finish ahead of the Titans. I know that's not what you want to hear, but I think that right now Jacksonville has a top 3 defense in the league, maybe. And their quarterback play is not great, but they have great running backs. They're loaded everywhere except for quarterback, in my opinion. And then I think Houston is going to, as long as Watson stays healthy, and those key pieces on defense like Watt and Merciless, and of course Hopkins on offense, they're going to be deadly. I picked them to actually win the AFC South, so that would put Tennessee third. I don't think that the Colts are going to be very good with or without Andrew Luck. What's up, a Pack fan? You just done with your 2-a-day practice. I thought that you're a high school player, right? I thought that 2-a-days were not allowed anymore in high school. So you must live in a very conservative place for that to be happening. Do you think Derrick Henry breaks 1,000 yards? Who's the other back on that team other than Henry? I know it's on the tip of my tongue, and I can't think of who it is. I do think that Derrick Henry could break 1,000 yards. Yes, I do, easily. No matter who the other running back is. Jonathan Hammond says, you own Jacksonville. Well, Jacksonville was a couple of plays away from going to the Super Bowl last year, sir. And when was the last time that Tennessee won the NFC Championship, or AFC Championship, rather? It's been a long time. Tareen Davis says, do you think ETN is actually better than Feaster? Feaster seems more like a power runner to me, while ETN is crazy speed, which we do need more on offense. Tareen Davis. First of all, they're both really fast. I mean, Feaster was a track runner in high school. ETN, they call the fastest guy in college football. I don't think they're that different. I think their running styles are a little bit different, but they're both powerful. They're both big, powerful guys, and they're both really fast. Feaster was more featured catching the ball out of the backfield last year, but what I heard Dabo Swinney say the other day is that they're trying to get ETN this year more involved in the passing game. So these guys aren't that different, in my opinion. They just have a little bit slightly different style of play, but they're very similar in size and power. I mean, and speed. So I don't know. That's a tough one. I think they're both really good. A great 1-2 punch. Deion Lewis's Patriots last year. Is that a question or a comment? Deion Lewis Patriots last year. Maybe you weren't talking to me. I don't know. Yeah, no problem, Tareen Davis. The great news about having two two backs that are so similar like that is if, God forbid, something, one of them gets injured or even just a minor injury and is out for a few games, you don't fall off the cliff. You know what I mean? Either one of those guys can pick up the slack. And then, of course, Adam Choice is a great, now I want to say backup, but secondary type of runner to help alleviate the load off of either one of those guys if they become the guy. I'm super excited about. I haven't been this excited about a Clemson running back duo since Spiller and Davis. You know, that's the closest comparison I can make. Thunder and Lightning. Deion Lewis is the other back for the Titans with Henry. Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah, yeah. Henry's going to be the feature back if that's true. I mean, Deion Lewis isn't bad, but he's not the. Henry will be the guy. Yeah, and Lewis is more of a catch the ball out of the backfield guy. He's not a power runner at all. I had Deion Lewis on my fantasy team last year. Now that I think about it, and he's one of those players for fantasy anyway. There was a big time hit or miss. You know, 1 week he'd score 40 fantasy points, the next week he'd score 5. So he's one of those guys. It's really, and that's how all Patriot players are. They just their running backs are very inconsistent. Because they change their game plan so much, which is why I don't put a lot of Patriot players on my fantasy team for that reason alone, unless their name's Tom Brady. I don't want anything to do with them. Too bad Spiller and Davis were ruined by the presence of Tommy Bowden. A good point. That's a very good point. I am not a big Tommy Bowden fan. Never was, even when he was at Clemson. The best thing that Tommy Bowden ever did in his entire coaching career was hire Dabo Swinney as his wide receiver coach. That's it. Because without that, we wouldn't have Dabo today, and we probably wouldn't be where we are today. So I'm forever thankful to Tommy Bowden for doing that, at the very least. Yeah, Adam Choice is a good back. Adam Choice is used in red zone, goal line situations. He's a tough kid. He doesn't have the speed of either one of those other two backs. That's the only difference. But yeah, Adam Choice, he'll get 20% of the carries. You know, I'd say that Feaster and ETM will split 80%, 40 and 40, and then Choice will get the other 20. They'll all get a lot of touches. You would have loved to see Spiller and Davis under Dabo. Geez. Well, Spiller actually, Spiller and Davis were there. Dabo was there. He just wasn't, he was the wide receiver coach. He wasn't the head coach. So. How the F do you lose to Wake Forest off a bye week? Yeah. Now back then is a different story than now. Wake Forest is way better than they used to be. Way better. That coach that they have is he won't be at Wake Forest for too long. That's how good he is. But Wake Forest is a much better team than they used to be. Way better. And believe me, just watch this year. You mark my words. You're going to see Wake Forest knock some very good programs off that normally they would get blown out by 60 points by. You'll see. They're not great, but they're not the way, they're not the trash can program that they used to be. They're pretty good. Hell, they almost beat last year they won 8 games, and they lost to Florida State on the last play of the game. And there's another game that they lost at the last play of the game. They could have very easily been 10-2. Can you believe that? They were 2 plays away from being 10-2. Now, I know if ifs, ands, and buts were candy and nuts, every day would be Christmas. I get that. But still, Wake Forest was anywhere between 8 and 9 win talent team last year. And I think they'll win 8 games again this year. At Wake Forest, that's a feat. Trust me. Which brings me to my next conversation that we can have, because I've been getting a lot of questions about this. And I want to say that Billy Dawson was the first one that pointed me in the direction of the article on this. I had mixed feelings on this. I'm sure everybody's heard by now what was it, 7 or 8 players from the University of North Carolina that got suspended for selling their North Carolina football tennis shoes. They're Jordans. I think they're Jordans. 56-7, just had to leave that there. Yeah, never again, Jonathan Hammond. Never again, sir. Until next year. So now there's 2 parts to this for me, because when I hear something like that, I'm like, how can these kids be so stupid? They know that's against the rules, and they know they're going to get in trouble for it. So why would they do it, right? So they're stupid for doing it. That's my first initial reaction. But when you dig deeper into the whole situation, 13 players. I'm not so sure. I'm not for paying players a salary like they're pros. I mean, I'm not for that. This is well documented. Okay. I think that I'm not going to even get into that whole thing. Let's just leave it there, because I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to get sidetracked here with this debate. I'm not for paying players, but I don't understand how you can legislate a rule where a person sells a personal belonging. Once the university gives them a pair of Jordan basketball sneakers that have their name on them, they are their shoes. This is like saying you can't, if I wanted to sell a pair of my shoes on Craigslist or wherever, that I can't do that. That's ridiculous to me. Now, if they went out there and sold, a piece of their, game shoes that they were supposed to have and wear during a game, and now they don't have those game shoes during the game and they got to get a new pair. But when you give somebody, it doesn't matter if it's a game-worn jersey that's never going to be worn again. If it's yours, once it's yours, it's yours. And these kids should be able to sell their own personal belongings, I believe. This is what happened to A.J. Green when he was at Georgia. A.J. Green grew up about 5 minutes from me, by the way. He played at the rivalry of my high school. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. A.J. Green sold some signed jerseys, some game-worn jerseys, when he was at Georgia and got in trouble for it. Well, those were his jerseys. Period. They weren't the school's jerseys anymore. He owned them. They were A.J. Green's jerseys. So I don't know how you stop, how you change this. But the NCAA spending time on people selling their personal belongings just seems like a giant waste of time. And let's be honest here. How much money were they really making off those shoes? A couple $100? I mean, who cares, really? I don't. I think that's ridiculous that they would get suspended for that. Now, it was stupid for them to do it since they knew it was against the rules, but it's a rule that needs to be changed, in my opinion. Let the kids sell whatever they want, as long as it's their stuff, I mean, can the kid not sell his own TV? I mean, where do they draw the line? Can a kid not can Jalen Hurts not sell his TV? He could charge $1,000 more than it's worth just so someone could say, hey, I bought Jalen Hurts' TV. But it's still just a TV. And it's still Jalen Hurts' TV. Yeah, it happened to Todd Gurley too. Yeah, stupid. If somebody's willing to pay money for something that belongs to you, it's really almost, and I hate to use this word because I don't like to get political on this show, but it's almost unconstitutional to tell somebody they can't sell something that belongs to them. I mean, this doesn't even happen in the big business world. If you work for Google and you're a CEO and you're famous, does Google tell you you cannot sell a pair of shoes that you signed? If Greg Bezos is going to tell me whether or not I can sell my shoes, no, of course he's not going to do that. It's their stuff. What's up, Go 1330? How you doing, sir? Still morning here in the West Coast. What time is it here? Yeah, it's almost 3 o'clock here, sir. 3,000 miles away, or 2,000 miles away, whatever it is. And that's the great thing about the internets. The interwebs, as I call them. I agree with you on this, but if he puts a signature on a TV and someone pays more for it, it's bad. Why? Why is it bad? It's his TV. Once you own something and you take ownership of it, it doesn't, the rights to your belongings do not belong to anybody else. Period. There's no law in this country that says any different. And for them to try to tell anybody, let alone college kids, that they can't sell stuff that belongs to them, it's just. I mean, I could sell a TV. I could sell my TV for more than it's worth if someone's willing to pay that. You know, I mean, things are only worth what people are willing to pay for them. You know, I think it's stupid to demonize kids for selling shoes. You know, it's their shoes, as long as it's their shoes and not the university shoes. But in this case, these were not the university shoes. These were their shoes. They were given to them by the university, but they own them. You know. So, anyways, but at the end of the day, listen, it's North Carolina, okay? Does it really matter if 13 players got suspended? They're still going to be a terrible team. They might only win 5 games instead of 6 games, so big whoop. Yeah, 26 days until the start of the college football season. I cannot wait. You're not saying, you're asking, is it bad? No, I don't think so. I don't think it is either, sir. Yeah. Bobby Durkins makes a great point. He says that the only reason the NCAA is mad is because they didn't get their cut. And that's really what it all boils down to. But they won't say that, though. There's so many stupid rules in the NCAA. Just so many stupid rules. Somebody, I don't know who the president of the NCAA is, or the chancellor, or the king even. Doesn't matter. They need to overhaul that whole entire rule system. There's just, get rid of some of the stupid rules that don't make any sense. The irony about what you said there, though, is that even if the NCAA did get a cut, if they said, okay, you can sell your shoes as long as we get 20% of what you sold them for. But they won't even do that. Yeah, Taurine Davis says he watched an old video from Tennessee Roadshow that said Clemson was looking to play Georgia, Auburn, Tennessee 2020-21. Is that true? If so, who would they play in your opinion? So I'm glad you asked me that, sir. I am so glad that you asked me that. Because you can look this up. Clemson has submitted to play any of them. They're trying to find one of them to play. Clemson wants to schedule a highly ranked SEC team to play. Or even just an SEC team. Any SEC team, it doesn't matter. But they want to play somebody that has some notoriety, or at least a large following, I believe. But none of these teams are cooperating with them right now. So I don't know which one they'll end up playing one of them. I don't care which one it is. I think that Georgia would be great. I think we played Auburn 5 times in this decade, in the past 6-7 years. So I'd like to maybe either switch it to Georgia or Tennessee. We haven't played Tennessee in a long time. But either way, I don't know why these teams they don't want to play Clemson. It's the only thing I could think. I don't know. The NCAA can't say that. It's like the bowl games. They can give gifts, but it cannot go over a certain amount. The NCAA makes millions off them bowl games. Yeah, the NCAA is a crooked institution. They really are. They just don't make a whole lot of sense with some things they do. 19 Savage says he's playing Madden 19. 19 Savage, you're playing Madden 19 right now? Is that what you said? If I could care any less about what you're doing on your game system right now, it would be amazing and ridiculous. Yeah, I don't care. Yeah, I unmodded you for some remarks you made. And also, I unmodded you. Well, I'll talk to you about that privately, 19 Savage. You'll get your mod back. Don't worry about it. So don't throw a hissy fit, please, sir. Wow, that sucks. I'd love to see the old Georgia rivalry get back to prominence. Yeah, I'd like to see that too. Yeah, see that. Listen, that 2020 we play. It's either 2020 or 2019. I think it's 2020. We play Notre Dame. I know we're scheduled to play them home and home. No, well, not a home and home. Just we play them once every 6 years. We play Notre Dame. If we had Notre Dame and either Georgia or Auburn or somebody that year, we'd talk about a tough schedule on top of Florida State and the rest of our schedule. That'd be a tough year. South Carolina. Yeah. Anywho. Spencer, if you're watching, sir, I'm sorry I missed your call. I really wanted to ask you about this Odell thing on the air, but apparently you're busy. So, hey, listen, guys, I got to go. I got to cut it off now. I really appreciate everybody stopping in. I appreciate all the comments, questions, banter even. It was great. And I'm sure I will see you guys soon. Now, like I said before, go subscribe to the Sports Fury if you haven't already, so that you can see me on there in the next couple of days. Also, I will be, this is another something I wanted to answer for everybody. I'm getting a lot of people that are contacting me telling me that they're not getting the notification from YouTube about me being live. Now, I know this is a fact because I've had like a dozen people tell me that they're not getting the notifications for my live streams. So I believe it is true. So what I'm going to do, obviously I can't fix, I don't trust YouTube to fix the problem. I've had too many run-ins with them and asked them. They don't fix anything when you complain to them about it. So YouTube's not going to fix the problem. But what will fix the problem to some degree is I'm going to, in the next week or so, week or two anyway, I'm going to come up with an actual fixed schedule for my streams instead of just going on whenever I have a minute. So there'll be at least 3 streams a week that will be fixed schedule. You'll know what day and what time I'm coming on. So that even if you don't get a notification, you'll know that I'm coming on, and you can, if you're not busy, you can come on the stream. So that'll fix at least some of that problem. So I'm still trying to figure out what exact days and times, and I want them to be consistent. I will be scheduling to do my streams, and I will let you know as soon as I figure it out, and that way it'll be easier for everybody. And Billy Dawson says, "Will I tweet it out as well?" Yes, I will definitely tweet. I will announce it on here, and I will also tweet it out. Yes, sir, I will. So everybody go follow Pigskin Pete at Twitter if you're not already. If you're not, I don't know why you're not. If you're on Twitter and you're not following me, then I don't know what to say. You have mental problems, and you need to be getting an evaluation to fix that. So anyway, listen, guys, I really appreciate you stopping on. I wish I could stay longer. I really do, but I can't. So I will see you guys soon. Have a great day. Be awesome. Stay awesome. Pigskin Pete. Checking out.